Hey, welcome back to Sodatime Restoration. We're back on the Vendo 39, getting ready to put the compressor in. Hopefully, we'll get the door hung tonight too. So hang on, I'm gonna grab some stuff and we'll get started. All right, welcome back. We're going to get the compressor installed. I always put me a little bit of a guard down there so when you're sliding that in it doesn't chip anything. So get you a little bit of a box, keep the evaporator elevated a little bit before you install it. That will help keep these tubes nice and straight, and we'll gradually slide this up in there. Get that first leg in there, that kind of helps that. As we get closer here, we'll pull a rag out. All right, pull the top piece back in now. You want your air tube not to be touching anything, your contact for your thermostat. Pretty close. We'll get some screws in there. All right, let's put the upper evaporator piece. Let's get it all screwed in there nice and tight. You should have a top one here. And then you'll have two bottom ones. And I always put a little bit of weather strip adhesive or some kind of sealant, silicone or something in those screws so no moisture will pass through that bottom cabinet. Doesn't take much, just get that hole filled up. If I can hit it here. Alright, so your upper cabinet's locked in. There any glues in there, you better do it now. The lower one, there is a bolt up front. This is a new compressor. Gary Olson did a wonderful job. Got one piece there we need to add to it yet. The guard that goes in there. It's a little bit tricky to get it on there sometimes. There we go. There we go. So right now I think we're going to try to get the door hung and get all the locking mechanism hooked up so we can turn the compressor on. So that will be our next little hit here. But wow. It is coming along. It is really coming along. Gary, it looks good. Looks very good. Nice job. Find me a little spot here. I use Speed and Sport. They're in Houston, Texas. Oh, yeah, nice looking crank handle there. Like Christmas, getting open up the chrome, the bezel. Good people to work with. I've used them. I think it goes all the way back to 95. I've used a few other guys over the years, but I pretty well have used just Speed and Sport. They like doing the pot metal. Had really good luck with that group. Chroming is not a cheap thing to do. It's very expensive, but man, it's so long lasting, and just to look at that product, that is going to look beautiful on that coin door. I think that's everything for the front of this. Now when you take and send off your chrome, try to clean it up as much as you can. Get all your decals off. Don't leave any screws in there. This piece here, you'll see when we do the install, you will need to drill those out to get your rivets back in. But when you do a crank handle assembly, and you will see in the crank handle assembly, I take everything out. Don't leave anything in there. I have sent them in. I've done it for years, and finally this last time I said never, never, ever again. As you send that off, you've got these guts. If you don't take that apart, you've got this in that housing, and there is so much that gets embedded around there. Now you got to remember, as many as I've done, there's probably been a handful that I've had to just take apart and try to get it reworking again. They just get stuck. So my suggestion, take everything apart, get it cleaned up, and hopefully whenever you get it all back together, because once they get stuck, you're either taking it apart, or you're going to beat on it, hammer it, you're going to mess your chrome up. So take a word from the wise. Make sure you take everything apart and when you send that off. And we'll get to this part here pretty soon as we get to that stage. So get your little rivets on. I like these. You can buy these as a rivet,
or you can buy it as a riveted head with a thread and with a nut on the back. So much easier. These, I've done the rivet ones before because I've had trouble sometimes getting these, and they're just a little tough to deal with. You can deal with them, but try to get this turned over without dumping them. If you can keep your hand on there, it usually will pass all right. They're all down now. And then put your screws on. Sometimes you got a nut driver. This is a little bit easier. Might be easier to hold it up like this, and it is. Get these tightened up real good. I always like putting a little bit of tape on the tips. Keeps from scratching some things. Even with a nut driver, you can scratch a few things up. That does it. All right, let's go to the putting the bottle opener in. Always grab those, make sure there's nothing moving on them. Before you put that bezel in, make sure you put this piece in. I think it's just a little easier. Get that in there, get it lined up. And we will put some nuts on the back sides of these. And the only thing we got left is putting the lock in and the lock bar in. So it doesn't take long to do it. Just having everything fit just right sometimes takes a little bit of time. All right, and bottle opener now is in. That's looking really good. Whew. Get the bezel put in. There's kind of two sides to the bezel. Getting it in there just right. I like putting there's more of a flat surfaced area on this top piece. That's kind of the one I always like using. Got several ways I've put these in. I like using, you can use a longer pliers. Some people call them slip joint, I call them water pump. But get you a rag on there, you'll see the little tab that you need to bend, which is right there. And I try to get this last outside leg on the outside of the chrome, and then get that one on the tab, which is right there, and then give it a little push, and it's in. Give it a little push, it's in. Come around to the other side. If you can see them tabs or not, hopefully you see that. A little bit farther away here, up just a hair here. There we go. If it jiggles any, I always say give it a little bit more. I feel a little bit of a jiggle there, so give it a little bit more. I'm going to do the other side now, because you don't want that thing vibrating when the machine's running. It will make a big old rattle noise. That went quite a bit just then. I think that one's tight. Nope, went a little bit more. Now we're talking. No jiggle. All right, let's go to the next step. And we'll start with the lock. I'll put it on this side so you can see it a little better. Okay, so if you're getting ready to go back together with your lock assembly, you're going to have your lock in there. You'll have a big washer and then a big lock nut. Putting the original one back in has a PR504. If you lose the key for that, either Soda Jerk Works or Funtronics, either one of those has got those. You could put a new lock in, but you're going to lose. New locks will not have that double-sided key. I really like that double-sided key. All right. Next step, get your lock bar put in. Can you put it in upside down? No. It will not go in that way. As you see, it misses the lock. Can you put it in this way? Yeah, but you'd bend your bars trying to get them in. So there's only one way the lock bar will go in there. And I already pre-fitted this lock bar earlier. Make sure that thing slides like that without any work at all. That's the way you want it to work. Get your key in the lock housing like so, and you'll have a stop. You'll see a little stop. Sorry about that. You'll see a stop on the inside. That's the side that the washer needs to go to. Or if you ever get one, the lock just keeps spinning, I guarantee you they put this washer on, and the little nub that sticks out there, they put it to the outside. If you took that apart, you'd probably fix your issue and flip this little, I call it a big washer. So that goes on. There's a lock washer then next, and you can kind of experiment with this, try different settings. I do it about finger tight, and then I start checking how everything turns. Should turn like that. I don't have my pins in yet, but that's the way it should turn. We're going to put a little lubrication in there right now. I use a product called fluid film. I've been using it for probably this last year. We've had this product in our line forever, and one of my customers told me about it, and man, it really works really good. It does not set up in a cold environment. It stays very, very slippery and fluid. But I always give it a little bit of shot in each one of these tracks, about that much. A little bit on the lock, a little bit in this track. Let that slider work back and forth in there. Oh yeah, feels better already. Wipe out anything extra that's possibly could have run down in there. It's a lanolin type product, so it works really good in about every environment I've seen on a Coke machine. If you got a Cavalier 72, if you've got a Vendo 81, that rack, man, it makes a big difference on the rack on an 81 and the 72, but good in this area too. Get your pins in. We're going to stick 2 in for right now to see how everything works, and should work just like that. We're going to tighten this up here. That's good and tight. I'm going to give one shot right here on the cam. Well, you notice the difference really right away. Great product. Fluid film. In the Napa stores, I think we're using the AS11 for the part number, but great product. All right, so the door is together, looking beautiful. We will move to the next step, see if we can get it hung over here on the door. Once again, check your threads, make sure they're good and cleaned out. Let's see if we can get the door on there. So to start with, I usually just try to get one corner hung and then work from there. One thing about a 39, Vendo 39, it gives you a lot of room. Get the panel back behind here right quick. There we go. Get that first screw in there. There's one. You'll have 5 screws holding the door on. Save us a little time here. That looks good. We'll check and see how the clearance is on everything. Looks good. So probably one of the tricks I've done in the past to get the lock bar to line up really good and nice is if you leave this cover plate off, and if you put your light down through here, you can see how to set your adjustments on those, and we'll see how lucky we get here. So if you remember when you took it apart, you probably had some spacers. I try to go back the same. Unfortunately, when I put these on the last, when I bagged these, I bagged them all together and my spacers all come apart. So the trick to the spacers is you'll see a slide pivot that goes up and down. If you can see that on camera. That slide pivot needs to be on like this. Not like that, just like that. So we're gonna slip these on here right quick. Just to kind of give you an idea how to make adjustments on the lock bar. Pull this down so we can get into it here. And sometimes I only put the top one in. Put your top one in first and then work your way down to the next. Once you get the top one to work, then work your other one. So let's see how it works here. Get the lock bar shut. When we pull this up, everything should be clearance, and I see a little bit of a clearance issue right there. I may have scooted over just a hair. Not too much though. Yeah, it's going to have to be scooted over just a little. Well, it actually locked down. Yeah, it's trying to push out. It needs to be scooted over. So we're going to scoot this over just a little bit. So the door can be moved up and down and left and right. Right now I think our height's good. See, it's pushed that a little bit. We'll tighten that up just a little bit more. But we're going to move this inward. And the top wasn't bad. It was the bottom that needed to be scooted over. If you've never painted your open door piece, if you look in one of my prior videos, I basically have kind of buffed this out a little bit, cleaned it up. We've taken the paint and filled in the paint. I'm going to show you how to take that facing off real easily, and then we're going to clean it up and we're going to put this on. Get you some steel wool, and I think this is, yeah, it's 4/0, so it's super fine. So typically that's probably all the stuff I ever use is super fine, but we're going to do a little bit of the just lightly sand, and you're going to start seeing that all start taking shape. A little bit at a time. I'm just barely rubbing on it. Nothing crazy. As you can see, it's leaving the interior red. Doesn't take long to do it. I probably let this has probably been on maybe a week or two. I did this when I got it off and started cleaning some stuff up, but man, it just makes a big difference. I see so many machines that don't have it. I've seen them do different colors inside. Red's kind of my go-to. If you wanted to clear coat over this after you got it really nicely buffed, that'll make it hold a lot better. Give it a little more color, make the color pop a little better. I like leaving it just bare metal, so you can always clean it up. I always go over it with my Vivid to shine up that stainless. And you'll see it's getting a little bit off, so it's cleaning that metal up really good. Still leaving the red alone. But the Vivid, just kind of a finishing product. If it's really stainless is in bad shape, you may have to use some steel wool to it first. All right, let's buff that out a little bit. See how much that just makes it go. It just makes everything just pop really good. It brings that metal just to a different level. Hopefully you're seeing that on camera. So let's get that piece put on tonight. Now the screws that you're going to find that go into the door, they're going to have a little notch in there. That's so it will bite. There's no gasket behind it. I'm going to go on just like that. Do not use an electric driver on this. Only a screwdriver. I think I cleaned up too much last night. I can't find half my tools now. So if you got a Vendo 39 and you just want to take this off and clean it up, get you some steel wool. If you're seeing my Vivid Restore, you can get that on Amazon. Let me get that down there where you can really see it nicely. And you can do it on the machine. A lot easier to do it off, obviously, but I'll give it one last little spot here. Works on stainless, works on chrome. Doors on, gaskets on. Selection doors totally done. I've had some people ask about this. I've seen these done white. I can go either way. Sometimes I leave them the way I see them from the factory, but I've seen them do these in white. You can do the same process, sand that off. Gotta be a little cautious because you're dealing with a paint product there, but it'll do the same thing. You may have to come back in, touch it up. Don't get too crazy on your paint when you put it in there. Same thing on the stainless rim. Do the same thing there. Clean that up. All right. So if you're putting the door on and you've been working with trying to get your lock tabs put in, here's a suggestion. If it doesn't, I probably should have done this on video and I didn't do it this time, but leave your entry plate off, leave the top coin drop entry off, and this piece that covers, this strap piece here that covers, leave it off. You can then, when you're looking down through the door, get you a flashlight in there and then hold that flashlight in there. You can see the workings of how those tabs are matching up. If you got this top piece off, you'll be able to do the same thing. So that way you can see how that tab is sliding up into that housing. It was a little bit of a challenge on this one, I'll have to admit. Sometimes you can hit it and it just goes right in. This one here, I don't know what it was, but boom, all of a sudden I got it. So I don't dare take it back off to do any demonstrating, but if you can get it in there, you want it. You don't want that door to have any vibration at all. You don't want any vibration in that door. So once it's tight, if it's like that, you can pull the key out, you're good. You're good to go. So we're gonna go in there and finish the inside here right quick. We got a few more screws yet to put in, but man, it is really looking nice. This is probably one of my funnest times, is getting to the end, putting these last screws in. This door will raise up and down. I'll show you a little bit of trick on that. Sometimes, if you're struggling with your door lock, start with your bottom one first. That's the one you can see the easiest. So leave this one off, get this one to where it works the best with your lock, then move up and get your top piece. That seems to be a better scenario. I'm not saying it's perfect. If it was perfect, I would have done it right the first time, and I didn't. And I've done way too many of these 39s to still be trying to figure out how these locks work. But this one here, it just finally went. It's tight, no jiggle. So as far as the inside piece here, we got our strap piece to put on, work on get our crank assembly put on, and the coin door. Besides the decals, we'll do the decals last. That's the only thing that's going to be left. Inside will be getting the drum ready. Everything is done. Compressor's bolted in. Lock mechanism is working. The holder here is working. Looks like it needs a little lubrication, but it is working. So everything's looking good there. Compressor looks good. We've got the cover plate we need to buff out yet, so we're getting close. We're getting close. So let's switch, and I want to show you a little bit on the crank assembly while we've got it a chance here. Okay, so let's get a little detail on how to get the crank assembly back together. Make sure you've got this cleaned out. Make sure you've polished this edge all the way, really got it really good and clean. So take this piece, make sure it fitted in there, and it turns really smoothly. I don't have any lubrication on it. I'm going to do this dry. and then we'll do some lubrication after we get it together. So you'll see an indentation there, a little indent. That's where that locks in. So when you're turning that crank handle, boom, that pops in. You can turn your crank, it throws your quarters over into the coin box, opens your gate. So always take these apart before you send them to the chrome shop, or you're going to have an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours trying to get this thing to operate correctly. Been there, done that. I'm done with trying to save a little time. It just costs you more time is what I always say. So first thing you want to do, get your spring and your little headpiece that goes in there, and that's got to go towards the crank handle. Seems a little odd, but yes, get you some glasses on. Doing it this way, it's less dangerous, but definitely get you some safety glasses, because this thing pops off, it will put an eye out. So I always kind of put this up on the edge right here, and then pop this other one. If you can get it just about right, you can do this with your fingers instead of getting a pair of pliers on it. Just about there, just like that. You see it's not all the way down in there. Pop that in. So your spring is now in there. And you're going to say, okay, that all looks good, but how are you going to get your crank handle to go past that? Here's the trick. Get your crank handle in there, as you see. Okay, now what do I do? Okay, I need to push that back. So here's the cheat. Probably been done before, and I'm sure somebody's got a video on it too, but I'm doing my video on it tonight just so you can actually see it live. Get this piece in an angle and that piece in an angle, and you want that one just to barely be touching the bottom of that pin there, and this one touching there. And you want to push these down, and you may have to, if you hit on it, don't hit on it with a hammer, hit on it with something plastic like a screwdriver, and we're going to put a little bit of pressure with the thumb, and if it goes too deep, we may have to pull it back out. Get it to where the back end is just barely touching, so you can see this a little better. You want just barely touching on that back end. As you see, it's almost about to drop in right now, and let it grab that bit now. And I put my thumb right on that little spot right there. There we go. Successfully on camera. No, it's not easy. If there's somebody got an easier way, put it in the comments. I know people hate taking these apart because of that reason. So your little chrome piece will come down over this. And if there's some clearance issues, you'll have to deal with that at this point. But wow, you know, you're back to a fully functional crank assembly. We will put some lithium grease in there right now and keep that lubricated really good. You don't want that thing to get stuck on there. It's not no fun having a machine that crank handle works half the time. So, but yeah, all right, let me get that. We'll be right back. Okay, let's get the cover piece put on the front here. Some people call it a little guard. Got 3 screws that hold it on. Get this over where you can see something here. You'll have some screws that you got to get the plate around. You go around that little plate, get that through the side, and right there you get your first screw put in there. And I'm going to leave it a little bit loose. Now, you can put this on this way, and if the coin mech the hole is straight up. And remember, when we did this was in the locked in position. So right now we're in the locked in position. If you put it on this way, you will be taking this back off, because you'll be in the wrong position to crank the handle whenever it locks in. You want it to lock in right like this. And yes, I have put them on upside down before, or in the wrong position, I guess I should say. Let me get that locked in here. That last piece in there. There it goes. One more time. There we go. Okay, so now let's lock the rest of the screws in. One there, and one there. So as you see, your handle is in the right position. give it a bump back. See how nice that works? I should have shot videos on the last ones I did, and I didn't do it. And oh, they're terrible, just terrible. Nothing wrong with what the Chromer guy did, is just the way I sent it in. I sent it in as an assembly. I did not take it apart. This is the way you want to do it. Man, you don't have to mess with it. You don't have anything catching or binding. It's all perfect. So, cover piece is on. We will, obviously we've got a cap catcher, and the coin cup is ready to be put in there. We'll slip them in. And the cap catcher, or coin cup. We got some decals yet to go, but wow, everything looks really good there. And that little bracket there, I can tell. See how that coin cup's sticking out like that? That bracket needs to be bent just a little bit down. Let's get that off there. See if that helped it a little bit. Now we're talking. Should look like that. Make sure that's in the down position. If you got it like this, obviously you can't shut the door. And we'll shut the door. Can we get the key out? Yes, we can. It's tight, no vibration. Always watch when you turn that crank the first time. Sometimes there becomes a clearance problem. I've seen it in a few machines, but wow, take a look at that. That is looking really good. Next step, we'll be going to the drum. Obviously we got a kick plate down there I see that we got to do. And if you've seen me do the drums on the 39s, I tear them all the way down. This drum here is nasty, dirty. It needs a complete restoration. Nothing wrong with it. It just had its better days. So stay with us. Hopefully, once we get the drum done, we'll probably get to our decals, and we'll be going into finishing up this machine. So thanks for staying with us. It's been a great evening of getting some stuff done. Hopefully you picked something up. If you did, if you learned anything tonight, hey, give me the thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, get connected with our other series. I think we're a little over 50 videos out right now. Obviously, by the time you see this one, we may be closer to 60, but I think we looked at this time, we're at about 650 subscribers. Thank you very much. But stay with us, and we're going to catch you on the next section.